Okay, so here's the thing we're not considering.
Okay.
We're always like, Selena can't be the best assassin. What if all the other assassins legitimately suck?
Alright, and let's get our sound going again. Alright, last bit of chapter 4.
The very last bit.
The very last bit. The last bit. Okay, maybe don't play someone else's video in our video.
Hold on, I'm just looking at something again.
Alrighty, let's go. Dorian watched Selena and Kaol disappear behind the hedges, wondering why his cousin had to be such a weirdo.
He's a freak.
He's a freak, but not in the sheets.
You would know.
Disappear behind the hedges, the captain's hand still in the middle of her back. Bit of a intimate place. Okay, as long as he's keeping it there and, not drifting down.
Yeah. And he said middle of her back, not lower back, so it's just like in the middle.
Yeah.
Least central part of the back.
Most central. It's the middle.
I said least sensual.
Oh, sensual, not central. She did nothing to shake it off. Look, you're not a fan of enemies to lovers. I'm not a fan of jealousy trope. Just putting that out there.
It's true.
An unexpected choice for your father to make, even with that competition, Roland mused beside him. Dorian checked his irritation before replying. He'd never particularly liked his cousin, whom he'd seen at least twice a year while growing up.
What a burden.
What a burden. What a burden. Kaol positively hated Roland, and whenever he came up in conversation, it was usually accompanied by phrases like conniving wretch and sniveling spoiled ass. At least that's what Kaol had been roaring 3 years ago, after the captain had punched Roland so hard in the face that the youth blacked out. Why has he been referred to as the youth twice now when he's like the same age as Dorian?
If people are like punching him in the face so hard he blacks out, I wouldn't be surprised if he is a rebel.
Just for that reason alone, he's like, yeah, I want to get these people out.
I'm destroying this kingdom. Yeah, we should leave my books alone. He's such a freak.
Well, he's going after your easel. The books are fine. It's the wheels he's after. Speaking of the cat. Not Roland or Dorian.
That would be the cat.
But Roland had deserved it. Oh yeah? Tell me how he deserved it. Let's see if I agree. Deserved it enough that it hadn't interfered with Kaol's sterling reputation and later appointment to the captain of the guard. If anything, it had improved Kaol's standing among the other guards and lesser nobles.
Come on.
Okay, so I
was
was expecting them to tell us, because that's how this book tends to go, but maybe they're going to hold something in reserve, which is an improvement, I guess. Because now you've got me more engaged and being like, I want to know.
What did he do? Please tell me.
If Dorian worked up the nerve, he'd ask his father what he'd been thinking when he appointed Roland to the council. Meh was a small yet prosperous coastal city in Outerland, but it held no real political... Wait, isn't Meh where... Meh is where the first guy was killed. Where Selena was supposed to go kill her first lord.
Really? It was Meh?
I think so. I think it was Meh. Meh has been mentioned before.
Meh.
Let's see.
I never thought it was really worth paying attention to.
Maybe it wasn't Meh, but it's definitely been mentioned. I'll have to go back and see if I can find it. I won't do that now.
I won't do.
I'll sit in silence forever. Anyway. Coastal city, but it held no real political power. It didn't even have a standing army, save for the city's sentries. Roland was his father's cousin's son.
His father's cousin's son. His father's cousins. So he and Roland are second cousins, I think.
No, they're first cousins once removed.
His father's cousin's son?
Yeah. Because
So false cousins, once removed, would be my cousin and my niece. They all false. My cousin.
but removed is up and down generation.
Yeah. So
And then so they have
no. So his Dorian's father and Dorian's father's cousin are the same generation, which means both of those children are the same generation. So there's no removal. How many generations do you have to go up to get to the same parent? You have to go 2 generations to get to the same grandparent. Because the king and the king's cousin would have the same grandparent. So I'm pretty sure that Roland and Dorian are second cousins. So.
but okay, so the guy who was over here on Christmas was Dad's cousin.
Yes.
But Dad's first cousin. And our first cousin once removed.
Yes.
So his kids would be
All
our
second
second cousins? Okay. Our second cousins. All right, they're second cousins. They could get married.
Hey!
That was a really bad clap.
Ow! Ow! Ouch!
That peaked the audio. All right, so we've confirmed they are second cousins. His father's cousin's son, making them second cousins. Perhaps the king felt that they needed more Havillard blood in the council room. Maybe so. Maybe Havillard blood is tied to that black ring he keeps playing with, which is obviously magic and important and not subtle at all.
Your loyal knight just fucking bit me. Your cousin just...
Still, M-dash. We went a long time without an M-dash. It was nice. Roland was untried.
Pretty passive voice you got, though.
It was not a dramatic feeling. That passivity is the best we got. Roland was untried and had always seemed more interested in girls than politics.
I think he's compensating.
I think it's a show he's putting on. I mean, when you walk around in the nude, say for a dagger, and you don't want people to start, I think that you gotta act interested.
I think he's getting them to look at him in one specific way so they don't see the actual scheming.
Probably.
They're like, he's just some floozy.
A floozy. A blonde floozy. He is blonde. I hope he has great hair. Where did your father's champion come from? Roland asked, drawing Dorian's attention back to the present. Dorian turned toward the castle, heading for a different entrance than the one Kael and Selena had used. He still remembered the way they looked when he'd walked in on them embracing in her room after the duel 2 months ago. Okay, so it has been 2 months. She has been to 4 places in 2 months.
They said that earlier, but yes.
I was just confirming it was 2 months.
Yeah.
There was some debate.
And they told us that like 1 or 2 chapters ago, and they're saying it again as if the audience forgot.
Oh, clearly I forgot.
Oh, wow. Gotta write for better audiences.
I guess so. Lillian's story is hers to tell, Dorian lied. He just didn't feel like explaining the competition to his cousin. It was bad enough that his father had ordered him to take Roland on a walk this morning. The only bright spot had been seeing Selena so obviously contemplate ways to bury the young lord. Harsh. You're a little old for hating your cousin so vehemently, but also you're a prince, so what am I expecting?
Worse.
Is she for your father's personal use, or do the other councilmen also employ her? You've been here for less than a day, and you already have enemies to dispatch, cousin? We're Havilard's cousin. We'll always have enemies that need dispatching. Okay, so I definitely thought he was implying that she is a partisan.
That's what I thought she... You know, maybe he was, but he's just really good on...
He's good on the fly.
Good on the flyer.
Yeah. He now has double confirmation that she's the assassin.
True. Man, he's playing everyone like
Dorian frowned. It was true, though. Her contract is exclusively with my father, but if you feel threatened, then I can have Captain Westfield assigned a... Oh, of course not. I was merely curious. Roland was a pain in the ass, and too aware of the effect his looks and his Havillard name had on woman. But he was harmless. Wasn't he? No, he's not harmless. I can tell you right now, he's not going to be harmless.
That's straight up what he wants you to think.
Dorian didn't know the answer, M-dash, and that wasn't surprising. And he wasn't sure if he wanted to. Wow, just like Selena. Her salary as King's champion...
Your willful ignorance will be the destruction of your country.
So true, so true. Say it again for the people in the back. Her salary as King's champion was considerable, and Selena spent every last copper of it. No savings for when she, she loses her job in 4 years.
She's like, hey, I have to do this for 5 years. I can save in the last 2.
Will she, though? Will she change her habits? Shoes, hats, tunics, dresses, jewelry, weapons, baubles for her hair, and books. Books and books and books. Because, of course, you gotta remember, the main character likes books because she's written to be relatable to the readers. And, of course, the readers are women who like books.
Did we say books and books and books?
Yes.
Okay.
That was, in fact, real. So many books that Philippa had to bring up another bookcase for her room.
Philippa had to do that by herself?
I think Philippa's got some secret sauce of her own.
Maybe they have IKEA, so she can at least take it up bit by bit.
Hopefully it's IKEA. IKEA. When Selena returned to her rooms that afternoon, lugging hat boxes, colorful bags full of perfumes and sweets, her weakness, and brown paper parcels tied up with strings with books she absolutely had to read, immediately she nearly dropped it all at the sight of Dorian Havillard sitting in her foyer. Gods above, he said, taking in all of her purchases. He didn't know the half of it. This was just what she could carry. So she can carry half of everything she bought. She bought such expensive things that her considerable salary was used. Jewelry is small, though, and expensive.
It's true.
She only got a few books. Books and books and books is, in fact, 3 books.
Books and books and books, yep. Well, also, you have to think of how expensive books surely are in this economy. Yeah?
So true. They must be all
not that we know anything about the economy, actually.
Actually?
But we can guess. I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. He didn't know how... more had been ordered, and more would be delivered soon. Well, he said, as she dumped the bags on the table, nearly toppling it into a heap of tissue paper and ribbons. At least you're not wearing that dreadful black today.
He's a runner. He's a hater.
He's a hater. She shot him a glare over her shoulder as she straightened. Today she was wearing a lilac and ivory gown, a little bright for the end of winter, but warm in the hope that spring would come soon. Plus, dressing nicely guaranteed her the best service in whatever stores she visited. Pretty privilege, though it's pretty lame if that's all it takes.
Not just pretty privilege, because if you dress so nice, you can pay well.
Sure, I guess.
So then we're like, oh, we gotta have whole customerage.
I think she's already had a spending spree, though. So I think maybe they know her. She's been paid 4 other times.
Oh, yes, that's right.
How many stores can there be for her to go to?
So true.
To her surprise, many of the shopkeepers remembered her from years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Did it say yields?
And had brought her, and had bought her lie about a long journey to the southern continent. Okay, so she's been here before.
Why is it good for an assassin to be recognizable?
It's not.
How is she the greatest?
It's good.
It's a good thing, too.
And to what do I owe this pleasure? She untied her white fur cloak, M dash. Another gift to herself, M dash, and tossed it onto one of the chairs around the foyer table. Didn't I already see you this morning in the garden? Dorian remained seated, that familiar boyish grin on his face. Aren't friends allowed to visit each other more than once a day?
False
No,
dog.
apparently.
We ain't friends.
She stared down at him. Being friends with Dorian wasn't something she was certain she could actually do. Not when he would always have that gleam in his sapphire eyes, M dash, and not when he was the son of the man who gripped her fate in his hands. I thought it said for a moment who gripped her face in his hands.
Selena, you must kill for me. You have 1 month. I take you into my house. I send you through my championship. And this is how you repay me. 4 men alive. But the wives dead. There's no love in your heart. Either kill them both or spell them both. It is the first law of my land.
It's honorable.
Is there no honor? I'm an assassin.
But in the 2 months since she'd ended whatever had been between them, she'd often found herself missing him. Not the kissing and flirting, but just him. What do you want, Dorian? A glimmer of ire flashed across his face, and he stood. She had to tip her head back to look at him. So he's tall, so tall that she's got to tip her head back. You said you still wanted to be friends with me. His voice was low. He's sounding entitled. Also, par for a course for a king's prince, I guess. She closed her eyes for a moment. I meant it. So be my friend, he said, his tone lifting. Dine with me. Play billiards with me. Tell me what books you're reading, M dash, or buying, he added with a wink in the direction of her parcels. Oh? She asked, forcing herself to give him a half smile. And you have so much time on your hands these days that you can spend hours with me again? Oh, he'll make time. Well, I have my usual flock of ladies to attend to, but I can't always make time for you. She batted her eyelashes at him. I'm truly honored. Actually, the thought of Dorian with other women made her want to shatter a window. Again, jealousy. But it wouldn't be fair to let him know that. Which is true. You know what? She doesn't have a claim to him. She has, in fact,
Rejected
that. So, yeah, I agree. She does not have a claim to him. She glanced at the clock on the small table beside a wall. On the small table beside a wall? That was, I don't know, that seemed like a weird detail to add. Beside a wall. What wall, huh? You gonna tell me it's a wall? You gonna tell me anything else?
No.
No. I actually need to go back into Rifthold right now, she said. It wasn't a lie. She still had a few hours of daylight left. M dash, even time to survey Archer's elegant townhouse and start trailing him to get a sense of his usual whereabouts. She's gonna maybe stumble across some surprises when she's just trying to figure out his usual whereabouts. Dorian nodded, his smile fading. Silence fell, interrupted only by the ticking of the clock on the table. We already know it's on the table. You just said that a paragraph ago. She crossed her arms, remembering how he'd smelled, how his lips had tasted. I'm not sure you want him just as a friend.
Well, no, I don't think she does, but I think she was like, we can't be together when I'm an employee. And
No, it
you're my
literally said at
boss's
the start
son.
of the page, she didn't miss the kissing and flirting, just him.
Oh, yeah,
Now it's
no, I
saying-
think she misses it.
How she has to remember the lips. But this distance between them, this horrible gap that spread every day, ellipsis, it was for the best. So I think that's just more proof that she's an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, because she's just contradicted herself.
Mm-hmm. Is that intentional?
It might be.
It could be. Unfortunately, the author has lost my trust that I'm not going to trust that it's unintentional. That it's intentional. Dorian took a step closer, exposing his palms to her, so she knows he doesn't have a weapon.
It's like your
Do you
palms.
want me to fight for you? Is that it? No, she said quietly. I just want you to leave me alone. His eyes flickered with the words left unsaid. Selena stared at him, unmoving until he silently left. Alone in the foyer, Selena clenched and unclenched her fists, suddenly disgusted with all the pretty packages on the table. Is it redirected disgust or rage that is going to the packages? Is she just redirecting like a cat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What did the packages do? They're innocent.
They're innocent, but they were there. She wanted to be mad at someone other than herself. That's the end of the chapter. I feel like my biggest takeaway from this chapter is just more solid proof that she's an unreliable narrator.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my biggest takeaway from chapter 4. Selena, major unreliable narrator.
Let's have a little peek into what chapter 5 looks like.
A little peeky into chapter 5 for next time. A random spot, not even the beginning. I just have to make sure this is still chapter 5 because it's probably a short one. Oh yeah, that was 2 chapters there. All right. A faint warmth bloomed against her chest, then a pulsing blue light.
Elena is back!
The eye of Elena. Anyways, all right. Toodles.